All right, thank you. So, thank you all for attending our CEO Leadership Edge series. We appreciate that, and we appreciate you coming today. And let me put down all my little things. Okay. So, as you know, C-Suite is the premier national networking organization. I'm co-CEO Beth Hilbing, along with.
I am Diane Gubin.
Thank you for joining us today. And our mission, of course, is to foster executive level relationships across all industries to have women work together, hire each other, build each other up, expand your career path and development as well. Diane, would you like to go into just a little bit about executive search?
Right. So, C-Suite Executive Search, we actually just merged with Amplify Professional Services, and the name will be Amplify. We've hired a CEO, Paul Appleton, who is leading our current C-Suite team, and we are actively looking for uh, job placements. So, if you or anybody you know is hiring, please let us know. We'd love to work with you.
Of course, we can't do any of what we do without our sponsors and partners, so we appreciate all of them, Conresnick, Cigna, All Springs, Amplify, City National Bank, etc. And our philanthropic partners, please check them out, Red Rover, Maribel, Bloom Again, and Kids Save, as they do tremendous things for this globe and for human population and animal population, so we appreciate them. So as I said, we're very blessed to have Serene with us today. She's a distinguished executive coach, educator, and founder of Elitelink Education. She's known for expertise in leadership development, instructional design. She's recognized among the Forbes Global Consulting Leaders. She's coached U.S. and international companies, focusing on language training, AI research, and corporate training. Her work has impacted over 20,000 students globally, and she has shared the stage with such prominent figures as Michelle Obama. She empowers leaders to innovate and excel in the global landscape. And so, welcome, Serene. And what I'd like you to do is just to expand a little bit about what Elitelink Education does and what it offers.
Yeah, sure. So is it okay I share my screen?
Yes, you can. There you go.
Okay, great. Um, so hi everyone. So I actually prepared a little slides for our today's um, content. So my company actually we do like three different sectors. The one I work day to day is corporate training. So we do executive coaching, and then we provide corporate consulting services for tech companies like Google, Amazon, curriculum design. Another sector we are working for over the past 15 years is college admission and private school admission for students. So we build up a very fun ecosystem. So our student, we help them positioning, we call it strategic positioning. We help them to find a really good school matching them. And then when we work with the corporate, when they need interns or when they need new employees, we also have this referral program that help our student to get a job in the big corporate or some other startup. So we have this because we had experience working teaching in high school, college, corporate. We see this gap in between. Like people go to really good private school, but then they not necessarily know what are the best college for them. And then people go to a really good college, they still cannot find a job sometimes. And then people in the big companies or good companies trying to hiring, and you guys definitely know, spend a lot of money and time to find the right talent. And sometimes there's just this big gap. And my company is trying to use our ecosystem to fill in that gap a little bit more. And we use backward design thinking. So we see how people working even towards the executive level and then how they work backwardly in their college, in their high school. So that's why we also have a foundation to invest in our student startup. So a lot of our students in high school, they already have a startup and we invest in their startup as well. And we also have a women foundation. That's also why I am an active member of C-suite. We help female entrepreneur to raise fund. We also invest in some of their startup venture. So that's what I do.
Just a little bit, huh? Thank
Mhm.
you so much.
Should I continue with today's topic?
Yes, yes, you
Okay,
may.
great. Okay, so today we're going to talk about the AI in leadership. I throw some easy numbers there because I don't know how you guys feel when people talk about AI in leadership, just so much. It's fuzzy, it's blurry. But what is it? As a leader of the company or an organization, what people really need to know. So that's today what I'm really trying to focus to make that fuzzy picture or that vast of information become more clear. So here, one thing the McKinsey research shows AI-powered organizations are 40% more likely to be top financial performers. I think those are some quick numbers I want to throw there and just to remind everyone, right now it is the age of AI. People keep talking about it. And one thing I want to touch on is first, as a leader of any organization or a company, is you really need to know what's going on in the country, like national strategy wise. And then it's the global stage. I'm not sure how many people read the white paper from the US Department of State. So actually, US every year or so will have a AI national strategy white paper. And I read the Obama administration, the Trump administration, and I read other countries as well. I read over 50 countries' national AI strategies. And interestingly enough, a lot of the country, when they had the strategic plan, normally the whole country and especially the enterprise focus. So this white paper over here, you can actually download on the official website of US Department of State. It's actually a guide on how enterprise will develop in with the help or with the guidance of AI. I put a content table here so everyone can briefly see. So it says the whole, like the Department of State AI vision, and then the goal of the whole country for the next 5 or 10 years. So actually, it is a really important guide. Um, I want to give you guys an example because I didn't find the very similar example within the US strategic plan, but for the Chinese strategic plan, the government say or in the plan it says the whole country wants to have over 50 college to have an artificial intelligence major in college to achieve that in 2022, and then they did it. So by the time of 2022, China, over 50 colleges have a new major called artificial intelligence. And then it says by the time of 2025, but this strategic plan is in 2019 when I read it. So 2022, I see it happen. And in 2019, it says by 2025, China needs to have like a big breakthrough for artificial intelligence. And that's earlier this year, China had this DeepSeek going on. So it is a breakthrough. So I can see for a lot of countries, when it has a plan, it actually happens by the timeline in the plan. And that's why I think for corporate leader, for company leader or organization leader, it's really important for everyone to know specifically your country or area, what will be going on in the next 5 or 10 years. And of course, it is also very important to read some of other countries, what they do, especially if you are a global company and you have a branch in other countries or you are working with other countries. It is also very important. So, and also quick things about this US Department of State, it actually has a newsletter. If anything related to AI that is new, it will send you an email. So far, I was really surprised by the user experience of the U.S. Department of State, this web page. I didn't know it has so many functions and it sends you a lot of material. So if you're interested in this field, I would highly recommend everyone just sign up the newsletter and download their white paper every year. Yeah. So that's the little thing I want to start with. And then they are another, once again, another quick some stats like economic impact. It will be, we can see a 15.7 T like global AI value this by 2030. This is a PwC number. So, and then investment return. So earlier this year, I did a speech at Harvard. And interestingly enough, most of the participants at that event are VC from US and China. And interestingly enough, right now, a lot of the VC were saying they only invest in AI related venture. That was a little bit surprising to me because right now I saw there are some other area my like also like very popular with the investment, but no, everyone was talking about AI. And the reason why is the investment return over here, this number. Okay. Oh, and another number I want to mention is the strategy gap. I don't know how you guys feel so far, but from my research, I can see there are companies way ahead of their time to be like on research with AI. There are a lot of companies just trying to ignore it. You know, they know
Right.
they talk about it, but they ignore it. That's most of the company, like what's going on right now. And since we're here, we are in the session, and I know that means everyone in the session, no one is ignoring it. So it's a good thing. It's a good thing. Um, So one thing that AI is making impact, a huge impact, is in decision making. So we know the data analysis side of AI, it is a data-driven decision making process. So especially on the forecasting of the results, such as investment return results, so and so, or even marketing plan. I had a very interesting conversation with the marketing director at work at Nike. So they said a lot of the things they do right now are using AI to as analytics, and it was changing drastically over the past 3 years, especially right now with technology, with the software like ChatGPT or cloud. So those are the things I still remember. Like even 5 years ago, at Wharton, there is a CLO program. People are saying AI is sort of disrupting the workplace, but and some company are refuse to take on the idea of how AI would change how they work. But 5 years later, no one can refuse. It's just happening. And it will happen no matter how the company leader, personal idea it is. So no one can just totally refuse this is what happened because it's just the fact. So I list a very simple like AI ready organization. It's a simplified version, but I think it explained very clearly. So first, as I said earlier, as the leader of the company, the first thing is have a big picture of how the country and the globe, in especially in the enterprise sector, how AI would affect. What are some of the policy and where are the resource support? For example, in some country, if you I think this is not the same case in the US, but in some country, if you are an AI related company, the government will give you some funding. So these resources are very helpful for any leader to know. Um, and then if the leader like has a vision of how the company should incorporate or understand AI, how AI would be part of the work process. and how committed they should be. That's the very important side to decide where the direction should be. And then it's the data infrastructure. This also include the data security. I would not touch on the technical side of the data security, but the data infrastructure part of it is really important to be understanding how to use AI to be like accessible and quality data system and also secure. And if you guys read the national strategy later for US, actually security is actually the top thing. Um, One little thing I want to talk about is ChatGPT. I don't know how you guys like, how do you guys feel about it? It is definitely powerful, but one thing people might not notice is right now ChatGPT can create, for example, it answers itself, right? But what's a little bit scary is ChatGPT can actually build a fake post on Reddit and then quote by itself. So
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
yeah, so that means a lot of the information can be just made up information. Even like 2 years ago, there is a lawyer used ChatGPT to organize the document for court and get disbarred. So so their like extreme attitude towards ChatGPT, there are people trust it entirely. They trust anything that's ChatGPT say because even especially younger generation, there are people using ChatGPT as Google. They don't even search anything on Google anymore. They search on ChatGPT. But the risk over there is Google might not have to Google search doesn't have the ability to make up stuff. There are fake information, right? When you search, you already know that. So same thing on ChatGPT is they're not owning fake information, they're freshly made up information just for you sometimes. So that's a very important thing for all the leaders to know the risk. And then once again, the security of all the data and the information when the company use AI.
So,
And that,
sir,
mhm.
oh, sorry, can I ask you a question? So with GPT, I use it more so like to help rewrite a paragraph or give it, say for an executive speech with these topics, what would be a description or something like that. But I have heard that a lot of people like will put in their resumes and all this personal information and have them create bios and all of this. That's all housed somewhere, right? It's all stored somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So because ChatGPT is open source, so anything, so one thing I wanted, so I see people use ChatGPT to translate stuff, even their personal information. So you don't want to fill your personal information into ChatGPT because it's open source. And um, and how ChatGPT gets so many information is when you use it, it actually collects everything you put it in. That's also something like we need to consider. So what to search, and because once you type it in, it's there forever. That's another thing I think about once again, it's about data security and then how we use it at workplace or even in personal life. And then I will be really brief on the technical capabilities because that's not our focus today. I do want, so understanding AI tools and talent is very important for leaders as well. Just like Bass mentioned, like, oh, how we actually use ChatGPT at work. There are companies that not allow their employees to use ChatGPT at work. They are companies and the colleges are sort of like we cannot entirely just not letting people use it. So they trying to have a guideline. The one thing is missing right now is the guideline. People is not really sure how to use it at a workplace. So if you are the leader of a company, right now having a guideline for your team, for your company is very, very important. So for my own company, because we do corporate training, we do college admission, one thing we are not allow our student or our coaches to do is using AI to write like important paper or important like essays. Has to be authentic. That's another thing. The authenticity is still the most beautiful thing about human. AI can write very interesting essays, articles, but still it's not real. So for my company, we have a very specific guideline of how to use AI at work, especially when processing document. We cannot anything that's very personal, like personal information, we cannot put it in any open source AI. So that's like two quick rules for my company. And if you are running a company, think about in your area how to have a guideline, at least a simple thing. So when people use it, it's not messy unless you're saying, oh, we're not allow anyone to use it at the workplace. Um, so I saw, like Jennifer said, I also think some of the analysis is at high school level. Um, do you mean by it's not mature enough, like the
Yes,
analysis? Hmm.
yes.
Yeah.
It can be really simple, and like not up to snuff. I mean, it's great at mining data. It can go to like hundreds of websites in seconds, but I have to check everything.
Yes, of course. Yeah. Have definitely when you use it to search, to collect information, we have to not even double check because of the function it can make up something. And sometimes one thing ChatGPT is really good at is mix fake information and the real information together and make it sounds really formal. That's something it really good at. So once again, if you use it for work, has to check it repeatedly. And then the culture readiness. Just like I said, if you run an organization, how do people think about AI at your organization? You're the one as the leader to decide that culture. Do we embrace it? Do we not use it? Do we treat it very, very carefully? Like, what would be the big culture there, and how everyone should be touching on like how we bring up that at work. So some company will be very transparent. They allow people to use AI, but they will have once again like a guideline or how do we use it. I remember there's a real estate company. I will not say the name. So the real estate company in the beginning is very messy because a lot of the agent try to use AI to write email for their customer, for their clients. And the email will be very messy because normally when you use ChatGPT write email, it's very long. It's very redundant, it's very long, and there are incorrect information in it. So the company had the policy they cannot use AI to write emails for client. So, so right now, what happened in a lot of company is when something happened and something went wrong, and then leader would say, okay, we cannot do this because this happened. And something would be smarter is predict what will happen when people using AI, even though it changed drastically over time. But I think the basic logic of it is still the same. So think about what would be the culture for the company. Do people be very open and embrace about AI, or people be very, very careful about using it in the workplace? That's something the leader really need to decide for the company. And then it's the governance framework. It's the ethical and compliance protocols. I know people don't like to hear the word compliance because it's boring, but it is very important for corporate, for any company actually. Um, Also the ethical conduct. So right now, I want to bring up a little bit because it's interesting. Is a lot of the colleges when they do similar thing with companies doing the interview process. So when companies and college higher education they're trying to recruit new students, what going on is a lot of people, too many people using AI to write their resume, write their essay or cover letter. So no one, no HR, no real human HR want to read those stuff. So they use AI to read AI written stuff. And what happened next is, especially for the hiring system, the AI will filter out some of the hashtag or the keywords. That creates a big problem for hiring because um, people may not know what keywords I need to put into my resume in order to not be filtered out by AI. However, the whole AI reads resume for big companies is going on right now. It's happening right now. That's why it is really hard sometimes for them to find the right people, because maybe the right people get filtered out in the first round because they don't have this keyword in their resume. So similar thing with the higher education. That's why for colleges, most of the colleges right now read, but there are a discussion about using because of the number of the applicants. So I'm a NYU alumni and I used to work at admission. So when I was working at the admission, the applicants is about 80,000 a year, and right now last year it was 12, yeah, 1200. Okay, so it was a lot of applicants. That's why a lot of companies and the colleges think about using AI to read all the applicants. And that will cause a lot of issue. The one to filter out right people is the first one. Okay, so that's also something we need to think about. So when I put up a AI ethical framework, so transparency is one thing I think is very, very important, because when the leadership is being vague about how we use AI at the workplace, no one really knows. So people just do basically freestyle, whatever they think is correct or they think is good for the company. So being transparent about what we can use and what we cannot use at the workplace and how we use it is very important. So once again, have a guidance or at least a simple rules of those are the things we can definitely not do with AI for our company is actually quite helpful. And maybe you would surprise most of companies right now, they don't have the guideline. So at workplace, people still feel either freestyle, I just use whatever I want, or I don't use it, or I just try to figure it out. So it's a little bit messy. And then the bias prevention, that is a real thing. I actually have a couple students did research on how ChatGPT and the cloud have bias against women in their system when you put in stuff, because a lot of the information they collect is based on the male perspective. And when the information filled into the AI has bias, the generate either conversation or information will have that bias as well. Um, so this picture right here is generated by AI. I actually need to put in like female executive um, conference. If I don't put in female executive conference, if I just put in a conference call where I put in a meeting, normally is male. So the meeting room will be no female. That's so right now it's changing, but I tried many times. I have to train my AI. So right now my ChatGPT knows when generate pictures for me. When I talk about boardroom, it's women. It's not just men. So you also have to train your AI as well. That's also something you need to consider because it's evolving, because it's changing how you work with your own AI. That's why when you use your own computer or your own account with ChatGPT, you can train it and then make sure it's safe. Like don't put anything like super private into the system. And then it's the compliance, once again, regulation, and then understand, especially for global team or especially for law firm, um, some of the cases to use AI is very, very sensitive. So especially consider the legal requirement for global companies. Even for my companies, we're not that big, but we have a global team. So everywhere, actually, like in Hong Kong, in mainland China, in New York, and then in Dubai, people have a very different idea of how to use AI. So basically, for our own company, we need to have a guideline. So no matter which area you're in, you need to follow the basics. And then we also need to make sure this guideline is legal or yes, and complying with the rules of the local policy of all these places. And then it's the innovation balance. I think balance is the most important thing for the leader to make decision of anything, basically. Like I said, there are people go extreme with AI, trust their life with AI. There are people who hates it, right? When they talk about AI, it's evil. It will take over the whole humanity. I don't think it's that extreme right now. It's not about black and white. It's all about how to balance how to balance the innovation and then balance how you think about AI. So that's very important. And like I said, it's really good to sign up a newsletter from like some very official website because it's changing almost every couple months there will be a big update. So following the industry doesn't mean we all have to be super tech. That's not necessary. The update here, I mean, is related policy, how and investment. You see where the money goes, and you know the industry will change and will evolve as well. And right now, a lot of money in the VC world are going to the AI field. Okay, so I'm gonna go start this very interesting case study with everyone, and um, after I tell you guys what happened, you guys need to decide who is the murderer in this case. So 2 years ago, I got invited as a speaker for a conference, and it's a homicide conference. I would never imagine I got invited for as a speaker for homicide conference. So I was very skeptical when I received the email. But it's a real thing. It's a homicide conference in New York, and my topic is about AI as a person working in education. So in the panel, our discussion is there is an AI companion app, and one person, I'm not, it's a little further either in the UK or in the US. A user used it and then committed suicide, very unfortunately, because the app told him so. Basically, the AI companion app got the person's trust. They become very close. The person basically using the app as a life coach, as a friend, talk about everything with the app. And one day the app goes, the world cannot be better. The only way you really want to be happy is to actually leave this world. That's like some of the last conversation the person had with the AI app, and then the guy decided to follow the instruction. So the question is, who here should take the responsibility in this case? Um, I put a murder here because the dramatic effect, but who should take the responsibility? Is it the AI? Is it the designer, the developer? Is it the app company or the individual? Who should take the responsibility? Everyone can put in. Yeah. So A, B, C, D can put in your answer. Oh, it also can be multiple choice. Yeah. Okay. I see a lot of people put in to D. Okay, individual. Individual. Okay. And then Diane said the app designer and individual. Okay. Okay. It is a very unfortunate case. I pick it because things can go dark when people not to be very careful with AI. Um, so the our conversation at the panel with all the police and some lawyers there. So it's interestingly how people think of it. Of course, the individual take the action by himself, so the main responsibility is coming from the individual, but the app company and the app designer also take the responsibility of not to put, especially the company, not put into enough notice and warning for the person. Like once you use AI companion, you should trust or you should only partially trust. Like this warning is very important. That's also should be a compliance, right? You need to constantly remind your users that right now you're talking to an AI, not a human. And even for a human, right? Like even for a human, you cannot take anyone's suggestion as that's the only true rule in the world. So on that note, the individual does need to take the main responsibility, but the AI company and the AI designer also need to think of the user, how they use, how they interact. They need to put up warning. They need to put up like explanation. And for the AI designer, for the app designer, they also need to think about the consequences when people use AI app as, especially a companionship app. Um, so Joy said this is a corporate responsibility there as well. Yes, so that's why it's the company need to take responsibility. Um, is Yes. So what Joy said is part of our conversation um, at the conference is they should do testing and simulation of this app before launching it. So a lot of time when people see the new AI powered stuff, it lack of testing, to be honest, because people want to be fast. So a lot of startup, a lot of companies, when they launch their new project, like 2 weeks, even like right now, like 1 week, they launch their new project. But for 1 week or 2 weeks, it is impossible for them to done like enough testing. So when we use all these fancy tools or like new tools of AI, we also need to think about the potential risk, especially as the leader. Okay.
That's one of the issues with the the bill they're passing is it would there would be no constraints on AI for like they can just do whatever they want. They can do all kinds of evil with it.
There are potentials, right? Just like I
Yeah,
mentioned before, there will be like fake information. AI can make up stuff, and they can even make fake proof to support their data or to
yeah.
support. Yeah. So all these, I think it's very important to see like anything has pros and cons, and definitely when people use it, especially for company leaders, it's very efficient in a lot of ways, and people like to use it to write emails, but still when it write emails, it also have problems. So you need to train it properly. Let your AI or the ones you use know what would be the proper way, and then also double check everything.
I've
Um,
got I've gotten I complain a lot, so I've gotten customer um service emails, and I wrote back. I said, "Are you a human?" Like you could tell it was written by AI.
it's true. So right now, it will change. A lot of people say it will change really fast. But so far, anything written by email, anything written by AI is very obvious because the redundant, it seems really formal, but there are a lot of things has no meaning. So that's also a real thing, and sometimes people get very annoyed when they receive a very long AI generated email, and it's happened more and more frequent. Um, and then I see Diane. type. The issue is now it's so hard to reach a live person in larger corporation. The AI is annoying. I totally agree. I remember before when you call the customer service, right? You can reach a real person. Right now, it's really difficult. It become a loop. Like when you
Yeah.
dial some number, you go back to the AI again and again and again. Um, so that's also like something people facing and how they once again like the customer service and a lot of especially smaller medium to smaller size of companies they heavily rely on the AI agents to do stuff.
Yeah, and
uh,
Michelle Reeves asks, what happens if you ask the AI, are you human? Will it lie about that too? It's a good question.
Oh, actually, you can try like ChatGPT, DeepSeek, Cloud. They answer it differently. I think some of it answer it more like directly and saying that they are they would tell you, oh, I am ChatGPT 4.0. So I actually asked the question. I think everyone when you type it, everyone's is also slightly different. When I typed it, ChatGPT says I'm ChatGPT 4.0, so I'm not a human. Yeah. Um, but it will not, so the basic fact question like, are you human? What's the difference between women and a men? Normally, they don't intentionally lie about it because AI is also not that smart. It's when you ask like a more complicated question, like ChatGPT, can you generate a strategic plan for C-suite? That's when it starts to make up things because it's a bigger project and when it trying to process these amount of information, it actually just mix or trying to collect a lot of information from some other companies or other organizations and put it together like that.
I'm glad
Um,
you mentioned that.
mhm. Yeah. So that's also when people say, when you say AI generated stuff, some of the writers and some of the artists would argue it's just copy. It's just copy from so many different people. It's not just copy from one person, but AI just learned from so many other, like I back to the C-suite strategic plan. So if I use ChatGPT write a C-suite strategic plan, most likely this plan is coming from so many different organizations and ChatGPT put them together. So that's why a lot of people, especially creators, like writers or artists, would argue when people use ChatGPT to generate like an essay or a novel or an art piece, it's actually not creation. It's not create this work. It's more like putting the things already exist together in different combination.
Hmm.
Yeah. So some people would argue because in the art field, there is like this ongoing debate on is AI generated painting really art piece? So that's something else we can think about. So, um, okay. So transforming talent management, this one I just want to go really, really fast because I'm gonna start to jump into the Q&A session after a couple of things. But I want to give this information for everyone. So if you can take a screenshot, because the recruiting and the retention and the skill enhance are something we can really think about how to build in or incorporate with AI, especially the data side. It is still like easier to use when you use ChatGPT. It's definitely much easier to use than Python. I used it both, so I know it's still very like very very easy for people who doesn't code. But so the recruiting and then the retention analytics on these two area, AI can be really really helpful. So the leading the AI future, so shift from the control to enablement, embrace the continuous learning. So balance technical and human skills, and develop your leadership plan. So these four things I think is every leader's need for the concept of AI leadership. So how much they need to control, just like I mentioned, do they totally not letting people use AI work or embrace it, or how much? This percentage, this how and how much is something the leader need to decide, and then embrace the continuous learning because AI changes drastically. It's almost like every month there are new things. I'm not sure if you guys ever followed up using AI to generate video. Right now, it's already crazy. So a year ago, when the AI generate video coming, I think it's still like it's okay, but there are a lot of problem with that video. But right now, our like my team, we can use AI to develop a course, like the video course. So we don't need a real person anymore. You can just use an AI person to teach like a course. Of course, the content itself, we still develop it, but unlike before, we need a real person, for example, myself, to be stand in front of a green screen to record all the content. Right now, we don't need that. And then the AI can do such a good job with it. Also, a couple, even like, I think 5 years ago, there is a radio station in China trying to buy my voice. They actually asked me if they can buy my voice because right now at that station, they don't need real news anchor anymore. They just use AI to read, especially for broadcasting. They don't really need the video set. So another thing need to think about is how AI gonna change how people work and how the job market change. There will be, it's not will, it's already happening, the change. Um, so Sandy asked, which program are you using for that? I actually don't remember the name, but I can send you guys an email later about the video generative um, uh, software. It's quite fun. So even though you might not interested, but you can still try to play around. Okay. So, and then balance the technical and human skills. That's also very important. I think humans, like I said, even right now, authenticity becomes very rare, becomes so precious in a lot of field. So the human skills is very essential and very important. Some people would say, "Oh, AI will replace human." That's really depending on how we see it and how we proceed, and also rely on how the leaders of the policymakers and leaders of the companies to decide how much and how they would use AI at workplace. And then the leadership plan. Try to think about, as a leader, how you see AI at workplace within your company culture and the sector, how it will help the company grow. This plan needs to be constantly changing because everything related AI, once again, change drastically. The related policy, the guideline, I would highly recommend everyone to follow up. Sometimes what happened is one policy came out, and when this policy came out, it might not be fully proceeded for everyone in the company to follow, and then it changed. That happened with AI right now because the whole industry just changed too fast. So for the leaders, really understand how fast the change is and how it can impact the company and how people should react. Those are the important decisions for the leaders to make. So this part, I will not go through it. I just give you guys an idea how AI leadership would be. Like this is a playbook. So how people can develop a system for your company. This is just like a template. I think most medium size to large size company can use it. Might not necessarily for small size company, but I just use it as a template. You can change it based on what you work with So this would be just a template. If you guys think this would be helpful, you can take a screenshot. And then we're going to the quick Q&A session if you guys have any questions.
This was great. The template looks very rapid. Like
Yeah, it is.
3 months
It is.
is a lot. That's a lot in 3 months.
It is. Because like I said, for AI field, if the structure is like a really slow, it change way too fast.
Yeah.
Can I ask about, if we think about setting up, I'll call it a platform or an environment within a company that in theory provides, I suppose, the guardrails around our data. Does that data remain ours? Like how secure is that? And or does it get shared with, if you're using a ChatGPT environment, does that get shared with sort of the open source organizations?
So that's a good question. So I will use example. I'm not sure if you guys ever used Khan Academy, but it's because it's more for K-12. So Khan Academy has its own AI called Flamingo. So Kamingo. Kamingo actually helps student and teacher to, especially students, to ask question in their ChatGPT based system. So it's still use ChatGPT as a base, but that system will filter out information and try to make the student and teachers information safe within that platform. So if any company want to use ChatGPT based, let's say ChatGPT based within the company to build a platform, they also need to build another layer on top of it to make sure the safety of the information. But if the company just use ChatGPT, of course, all the information will be out. Yeah.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Mhm.
When they talk about, there are lots of great uses for AI, certainly in healthcare and this company BioBot who checks up water for diseases and things like that. I heard a great story last week or two. They were looking for some kind of medication for like an orphan disease, and companies don't put a lot of research, put money behind an orphan disease because they're not going to make a lot of money on it anyway. And they put in all this data and they trained the AI, and after 3 months, it came up with 2 substances that should work to fight this disease, and they work, but they both worked. So it is powerful in that way, but that's a far cry from having, a strategic plan written by ChatGPT. My question is, when they talk about $15 trillion or something like that, I mean, what business models, what types of companies, and like a lot of companies, so let's use digital health as an example, use machine learning to detect patterns and make forecasts and things like that. It can be very useful as a tool to assist a professional. But what are the business, where do they get a number like that? Are there AI specific companies? Is it the AI component of a digital health company? Or is it the whole digital health company that uses AI as part of, like part of what it does? Do you know that?
Yeah, so that question I actually can give you like a concrete answer because when I read the report, it says how much money will go into this field. It didn't specify like
Oh,
is it like how much AI incorporated in that project. So
I see it. It wasn't a revenue, it was an investment number.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, that makes sense. Sure.
Yeah. So, okay, and I see another question Michelle asked, like, besides downloading the State Department strategies and subscribing newsletters, what are the recommendations do you have for keeping up to date about AI? Let me just quickly find, there is a, is it called POE? Just want to make sure. So there is a platform, gives you all the AI powered app and then constantly updating every day. So on this website or this app, it has website and an app. I just want to make sure the name. It will update every day of how many new stuff is on. So this is only specifically for AI powered app and software. So I think I can send you guys an email. I just want to make sure what's the exact name of that because I actually use it a lot. But the moment I want to say it, I forgot the name. Yeah. Just want to make sure. Is it called POE? Yes, it's called POE. Yeah. It has an app. It also has a website. Every day it will update in different area. For example, for work, for fun, for art, all these for video. So I think Sandy asked me about video. So you can actually go ahead to download a POE or to go to the POE website. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Serene. I thought that this was just awesome, and I can
Thank you.
definitely